Whatever became of alpha-carotene? I wonder what kind of masturbation fantasies Stephen King has. I also wonder if anyone has ever masturbated while fantasizing about having sex with a live chicken. Usually I wonder about these things while I'm masturbating. Isaiah said, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks." Let me ask you something. When was the last time you heard of someone who made a fortune selling plowshares and pruning hooks? You're probably thinking to yourselves right now, I wonder what he thinks I'm thinking right now. Or you may be thinking, I wonder when he's going to say, you're probably thinking to yourselves right now, I wonder what he thinks I'm thinking right now. Or you could be thinking, I wonder when he's going to wonder when well, maybe not. Hey guys, did you ever get your balls caught in the toaster when it was turned all the way up to dark brown, and your wife was trying to rub butter on your balls, and your pit bull was in the kitchen and he really loves butter? Ugh, it's an awful feeling. When I'm writing, I always like to have the TV playing in the background. I usually try to find a program that's interesting enough to leave on, but stupid enough to ignore. I think sometimes the word overseas is pluralized unnecessarily. The way I look at it, New York to London is oversea. After all, there's only one sea in between them. This statement is untrue. Regarding astrology, an obstetrician or a maternity nurse who weighs between 100 and 200 pounds actually exerts a greater gravitational force on a baby at the time of its birth than do any of the distant planets that are said to influence a person's personality and destiny. Why aren't these bulky, proximate objects factored into the astrological charts that are so carefully laid out? There are caregivers and there are caretakers, and yet the two words are not opposites. Why is this? Whenever I hear that someone lives in a gated community, I think of places like Auschwitz. True fact. There is actually such an organization as the Paralyzed Veterans of America. And I wonder, who answers the phone? Until you're a certain age, you don't have anything to put behind you. That's what life seems to be. A process of doing things that eventually you just want to put behind you. There are now murderous turf wars going on in which people are being brutally killed over the right to sell a substance called ecstasy. You know something you don't see anymore? The sacking of a city. Rome and Constantinople were good examples. Next time we win a war, we ought to sack the capital of the country we defeat. U.S. troops sack Baghdad. Wouldn't that be good? I guess we do our sacking in subtler ways, through the business community. I think they ought to have really fast escalators that you have to jump on and off. And if you get hurt, too bad. When I notice a little dead fly on the windowsill, one that wasn't there the day before, I always wonder how he died. I wonder if he had a stroke, or maybe a little fly heart attack. Then I think that maybe he's just pretending to be dead so I won't swat him. So I swat him. Here's a tip from the Power and Light Company on saving energy. If you have elderly people living with you, cut back on their heat and light. Old people often exaggerate how cold they feel. I was thinking the other day that one kid who's really going to have emotional problems when she grows up is that John Benet Ramsey. You know, because of all the media attention, her parents being under suspicion, the speculations about sexual abuse. Jesus, that kind of thing would fuck any kid up. And then I remembered, hey, she was the one who got killed. And I thought, it's a good thing she's dead. At least she won't have to suffer. Tell Pierre I said hello. A two-man conversation. I'm going up to San Francisco this weekend. Oh, well, tell Pierre I said hello. Actually, I knew you'd say that, so I took the liberty of calling him and telling him you said hello. He said in that case to tell you he also says hello. So, hello from Pierre. And he said to add, how's it going? Oh, well, that's great. Well, tell him everything's going just fine, and don't forget to say, how are you? Well, he and I knew you would ask that, and so Pierre has authorized me to say that he's glad you're fine, but that he hasn't been feeling too well lately. Oh, well, tell him I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope it isn't serious. He says he knew you would be sorry to hear that, but he thinks it will blow over. Well, tell him, if it doesn't, I have a great doctor in San Francisco. Ginny and I met him in Hawaii when we were there last year. Pierre says he knew you had a great doctor, but he wasn't aware he was located in San Francisco. He also says he didn't know you and Ginny had gone to Hawaii. He thought it was Cancun. And he also says, how's Ginny? Tell him Ginny is dead. Well, I'm sure he didn't know, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he's real sorry to hear about that, and I'm willing to bet anything he offers his condolences. And most likely he'll also say that if there's anything he can do, anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Excuse me, Hank, I'd love to keep talking, but I have to go buy underwear. Oh, well, Pierre says there's a sale at the Gap. Get fucked, Hank. I don't know why people got all excited about that guy Jeffrey Dahmer. Because he broke a few laws? So what? There's nothing wrong with killing 12 people, having sex with their corpses, masturbating on them, eating their flesh, and then saving the heads in the refrigerator. What's wrong with that? Nothing. So far, nobody has been able to explain to me what it was Jeffrey Dahmer did that was so wrong. First of all, let's remember, wrong is a relative term. Who's to say what's wrong? Who are we to judge? Put yourself in the other man's shoes. Who among you, under certain circumstances, might not kill 12 people, have sex with their corpses, masturbate on them, eat their flesh, and then save the heads in the refrigerator? Not one of you, I suspect, so cut the guy a little slack. Always remember, there but for the grace of God go I. Here are some things you should not say if you encounter a comedian. First, if you're with another person at the time, don't say to your friend, "You better watch out, he'll put you in one of his skits." We don't like that. It's not funny. And by the way, we don't do skits. Second, if you meet him while you're at your job, do not say, "You ought to work here. You'd get a lot of material." It's not true. Just because you work with a bunch of simpletons doesn't mean it translates into comedy. Third, if you work at a store and we're shopping there, and some small mix-up occurs that needs to be sorted out, don't say to a coworker, "He's going to put this in one of his routines." He's not. One more thing we don't like. When you tell us something that you think is funny, and then you say, "You can use that if you want," we don't want to use it. Believe me. I stopped behind a small beat-up camper at a red light, and I noticed 3 bumper stickers. Dare to resist drugs and violence, there's no excuse for domestic abuse, and stop senior abuse. And I thought, I'm really glad I don't live with those folks. I'd bet anything they were on their way to the hospital emergency room or perhaps intensive psychiatric counseling. If I'd caught up and looked inside their vehicle, I'm sure it would have resembled a Johnson & Johnson showroom. Tune in tonight for a full-length movie on America's favorite new date show, Dinner, Movie, and a Hump. Tonight your hosts, Dagwood Parkhaven and Candace Nooch, cook up a delicious whale chowder and breast of hyena on a bed of diced badger as they present an award-winning film about an amnesia victim, Who the Fuck Am I? Starring Esther Sylvester, Kermit McDermott, Chi-Chi Amici, and Skeeter Van Meter, and introducing Keith Bunghole as the queer. After the movie and the food, Dagwood and Candace will tear off a lengthy piece of ass on the kitchen table, taking turns being on top and demonstrating several interesting new sexual positions, including the Baghdad twirl and the Bosnian dick knot.